So I was scrolling through the news like a lot of people do, like I do every day, and I came across this interesting article which basically said that Joe Rogan was a hypocrite. And it's like, okay, how? And it had a picture of him and it had a picture of Carlos Mencia. And like, oh boy. So basically, like, what the article was basically saying was, Joe Rogan was a hypocrite because he always talks about cancel culture and how it's such a plague to society. And they said, but he created this big internet empire on the podcast with canceling Carlos Mencia. So there's so much to get into. First of all, Joe Rogan didn't need that incident to make him famous. Did it ingratiate himself with the comedian community? Yeah. But it didn't make him famous. So if you don't know, he had a role on a sitcom that lasted for a while, had some high profile actors. It was called News Radio. He had a couple of on and off, sitcoms that did do so great, but him being involved was enough to get him off the ground. And he started to do stand-up and everything, but then he got made the host of Fear Factor, and he was a UFC commentator. Hosting Fear Factor gave him national exposure and gave him enough money that he didn't have to care about stuff. And when he quit it, he was like, okay, I can focus on comedy. So the podcast he was already famous, but it wasn't the podcast that did that. And it certainly wasn't ratting out Carlos Mencia that made him famous. Second thing, so he made a post on a website of his about all the stuff with Carlos Mencia, that he stole jokes. And it's not enough that, he had similar stuff. If you look up any of the Carlos Mencia stuff, like the people he supposedly ripped off, it's like, wow, that's so close. And it isn't just like, oh, they did a similar bit, but it's like, how can you not see it? And there's even a special with Comedy Central where they delve into this, and there was enough people who they all had this experience of him stealing jokes. Like if they saw him at their show, they would, they wouldn't say their good stuff, and that hurt them. That was the thing that he was against. He was against him looking for good material from other people and using that himself rather than them getting to use that material which they'd worked hard to create to launch their own careers. It's like, that's what he was against. And it's like, yeah, that's good. That's a good thing to go after someone with. Like, if they're doing that and they're reaping huge benefits, they need to be taken down. So yeah, he confronts him on stage and nothing happens. And then as the years go by, the truth begins to leak out, and basically his actions catch up with him. And Carlos Mencia is not the force that we know him to be. For a while, he was the second most popular show after South Park, if you can believe that. So here's a big difference between, could you say that Joe Rogan canceled him? I guess you could. But I would say he brought to light a serious issue that was affecting people adversely. And he said, hey, this is happening. You know, what's the deal, man? Now, can it be good to cancel some people sometimes? Yeah. Like, you know, Harvey Weinstein, he was canceled. Bill Cosby, he got canceled. I know recently Bill Cosby got set free, but there's no way he's having a career like he used to. Yeah, that his career is basically done. Even if legally he's set free, you know, in public opinion, nobody's gonna touch him. So I think cancel culture had its origin in those moments of like bringing something to light, but it quickly devolved into something which was just like an effigy of those original aims. What it turned into was basically witch hunts. So what happens is it's so simple, I almost feel like I don't need to say it, but I think what Joe Rogan did was, okay, here's evidence of some bad behavior, and yeah, a stop has to be put to it. Whereas with cancel culture, the kind that he is bemoaning, it's basically looking at something somebody did or said and going through so many mental gymnastics to find something wrong with it. Fluffy did a great bit where like he says, he's like, people don't know how to take stuff. And he's like, hey, how's it going? It's like, what do you mean by hey? And yeah, like, I think I've said it before, but cancel culture in a way, the kind that's prevalent today, feels a lot like sort of, although it's on the left and feels secular, it's almost like the other side of the coin of sort of the really right-wing conservative, you know, Christians in the 90s. You know, the ones who wanted to ban Harry Potter and who said Pokemon was from the devil. Like, where you're just really, you know, have to stretch and invent stuff that wasn't there. And it's like, it just rings hollow. So I don't think Joe Rogan canceled Carlos Mencia. And it's funny, they got Carlos Mencia to talk about it. And it's like, if I didn't already have an ill opinion of the dude, it'd be like, really? It kind of felt like he was just trying to like, it was gaslighting basically. That's what it felt like. And if you're on the fence about Carlos Mencia, I think a few people have brought it up. There's this video where he's talking with Bobby Lee, and like Bobby doesn't let up. Like, it feels like Carlos is like admitting it, but he's trying to word it in a way that he doesn't want to admit it. But Bobby's like, well, come on. And you just don't get a straight answer out of Carlos Mencia. So I don't think Joe Rogan canceled Carlos Mencia. I think he brought him to justice. And stuff like that is what we need to focus on. Like, you know, and if we let it devolve into cancel culture, into witch hunts, you know, the real stuff that matters, like when there's like a legit thing, because yeah, then people aren't gonna pay attention. So I don't know.